Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is ArbieG and today we are racing our first race in the Manufacturer Series for Aston Martin. Isn't actually my first attempt at this race. You see I've got 12 points there. That was from a previous attempt. You've got up to 5 chances to run this race each time that they come up, each round that comes through, and it's the last result you get that counts. So the first race I did was pretty awful. I actually qualified in 5th, which I was quite pleased about, and then I spun out on the first lap, lost grip completely, ended up in last place with a massive gap and sort of clawed back to 18th by the end of the race. So I definitely didn't want to settle on that as my race, but we come into the qualifying round now and we're just going to watch the qualifying lap that I set as we just finish off the out lap and come in. So I set my fastest lap on the first attempt and we're flat out through here into turn 2. Heavy on the brakes and try and trail brake a little bit into this. I turn quite sharp on that corner and try and hit the middle of the road, so when I turn right I can go full throttle really early and it just gives you a little bit more through this straight here. Slightly off the throttle as we go through that corner. A little bit of oversteer there as I come through that corner, but nothing too concerned about. So I've got soft tyres on, as you should do when you're setting your qualifying lap, because we don't really have to worry about tyre wear or anything. So in this race, unlike all the other races I've done before, we've been restricted to hard tyres. In this race you've got a choice between soft, medium or hard tyres. The soft tyres being the fastest with the most grip, but obviously they wear down the quickest, and then you've got the hard tyres, which on the opposite end of the scale have the least grip, but they wear down the slowest. It's a 23 lap race, this one, and that's the longest race we've run so far, so it's going to need a couple of pit stops as we come through a death alley. Like a chicane can really hurt you, but there is a couple of ways that you can get through there without having to use your brake or anything like that. I use a little bit of engine braking just to get through without using my actual brake, as we come through now to seal off this qualifying lap, and we finish on a 140.4, which is actually a little bit disappointing. In my practice sessions I ran sort of a 138, a really high 138, 138.9. And in the previous quali I ran a 139.5, so that would have put me sort of in 6th or 7th sort of range, but you know, we're sitting in 13th, so we're well at the back of the pack. So hopefully, compared to the Nations race we did, we might have a little bit of excitement as we come to the Manufacturers Series cinematic, which, like I said in the last video, it's quite nice to have a little special cinematic to mark a event to distinct it away from all the rest. It's nice. I like it. People just want to skip it probably, but meh, I'm quite happy to sit for it. As we go to the race, in our first race on the Manufacturers Series. I think it's only an exhibition season, so it doesn't actually count towards anything, but it's a really good sort of practice in the format and stuff. So it's our first race in the Aston Martin. I actually chose the DB9S, which I now regret. Basically, when it comes to the GT3 cars, you got a choice between the DB9S and the V12 Vantage. I chose the DB9S because on the stats it had better stats, and then obviously I just realised about a balance of power thing, which sort of tweaks the stats to make all cars roughly around the same speed. Unfortunately, I think the V12 Vantage is probably a little bit of a better all-round car, whereas the DB9S seems to be a pure powerhouse, like really fast on the straights, but as soon as you start getting into chicanes and tighter turns, that's when you start to lose a bit of time. So it's going to be an interesting season trying to run it all with the DB9S. Obviously we've got the GT4 races, which will be in the other Vantage, but we're going to have 5 races at least as we come through the grid now. 11th place with 140 is where the pack has been separated. As we come up now to my DB9S, on a 140.4. Like I said, a little bit disappointed with this qualification, but you've got to make the best of it and see what you can do from where you start. So it's a rolling start on this race, as opposed to a grid start like we had on the last race. I have to admit, I do prefer the rolling start. It just gives everyone a little bit more room and a little bit less chaos going into the first few turns of the race. I mean, it's still going to be, no matter what, it's going to be chaos. So I had a pit strategy for this race. Pit strategy was basically, so I had to use the medium and the hard tyres at some point in the race. I had to put on medium and hard tyres. So I started the race in medium tyres. I was going to do 10 laps on my medium and then switch to hard. Hard are the slowest tyres I got with the least grip, so I was going to run them for 7 laps and then switch to the soft tyres, which are the fastest ones, and see out the race on the soft tyres for about 6 laps. So by the time we got to the end of the softs, they'd probably be a bit worn down. Oh, as I get hit at the side there, coming up through the pack, took a little bit of contact on the inside there, but it looks like by the car behind me, as we chase down the Audi in front. Coming through, let's turn it second gear. Got to be careful coming out on that exit. A couple times I've spun out, so you just got to make sure that your car's nice and stable before you try and put on the throttle. As we sit in temp, so we've climbed a few positions already, which I'm not going to complain about. You know, I'm kind of trying to aim to finish in the top half of the race. If I can finish in the top half of the race, and that's my aim in most of the FIA races at the minute, then, you know, I'm quite happy. At these early stages, we chase on this pack as the chap in 8th swerved a little bit there on the entry into the chicane, lost a bit of speed. As the Audi puts the brake on, and I forgot to reduce my speed a little bit. See, I don't brake through there, so I'm going to see if I can get the overtake going for the attack on the inside here. And have I got the pace on him? It looked like I had the pace on him, and it looks like I've got the inside, and we have the overtake there. As someone else has come off, so we climbed another couple of positions. So we've gone from 13th all the way up to 7th place, which, again, you know, I'm not going to complain at that. Let's see if we can hold and maintain it, as we've got a couple of people chasing behind us. A Frenchman and a Swiss. And a Mazda and an Audi. Oh, sorry, a Mercedes and an Audi. So yeah, I've run this. If you remember my very first video, we were actually this is actually the track we run in the very first video when we were in a GT4 Dodge Viper. It's nice to come back to it actually. It's first time I've been able to not have to completely familiarise myself with a course before having to come to it. I was somewhat aware of it before coming to my practice, which I had quite a lot of practice on this one again, just see if I can get the most out of this. A DBS9, which I think I did. I think I got the most. I think I ground down my time to a 1:38 was the best I could do in practice, and sort of the best lap times are about a 1:34. So I was about 4 or 5 seconds behind, which is, if I can get in that range of the best lap times, I know I'm doing all right. And I know I didn't necessarily have the best car for this. As we go through the chicane here, looks like we've hit the apexes on that perfectly. Coming out at about 120. Looks like we might be able to possibly use the slipstream to game up on number 6, and then maybe on the straight after this turn, use that straight to find an opportunity to overtake and attack. So we've got a lovely position here, and hopefully we should be able to pick up some speed now from the slipstream, which it looks like we're starting to. And is he going to go on the inside or the outside? It looks like he's staying his line, so I'm going to go on the inside, see if I can take him, and it looks like I've got past him. And you can see him behind me in the rear view mirror. He's not going to be able to reclaim that place as I now move up to 6th. So this has been a really nice race so far. A few nice overtakes, nice clean overtakes. Managed to climb a lot of positions through people just crashing out. Again, I've said this 100 times in the videos, man. Ahead of everything is just a consistency. If you can just put in neat laps, avoid spinning off, stay on the track, you'll usually do alright. As long as you sort of decide what your racing line is and how you're taking your corners, and as long as you can do that consistently across all the laps across the race, you'll do alright. As we come down to this lovely hairpin, which loads of opportunity to overtake there. It's a really good overtaking opportunity, especially if you can get on the inside, following someone's slipstream through the long straight up there. Come through the chicane once more. So my strategy here is drop down to 4th, use the engine braking to get through, and then accelerate out of that last chicane. I have seen on the best lap times, they somehow sort of don't use engine braking and sort of slightly come off the throttle and manage to get through. Every time I do that, I crash and die. So timed out was at the time about 2.5 seconds behind the guy in front and about 2 seconds in front of the guy behind us. So bit of a cushion either side here as we come around now, finishing the 3rd lap. So again, this isn't a full race video. We're going to sort of drop out some of the laps here and there and come back in at the race at the key moments. As we come round this S-bend now, holding 6th. Looks like we're pulling away a little bit from chaps behind us as we skip forward now at the back end of lap 9, moving into lap 10. So you can see, looking at the timings there, using the medium tyres, that we're starting to lose a little bit of grip now. I'm either making mistakes or we're losing grip. You can see we're sort of quite nicely hitting consistent laps between sort of 140, 141. But towards the end, we're losing a bit of grip. But you can see now we're in 3rd place. I'm not going to claim any credit from that. Most of those climbs have been due to people going into pit already. So I've think I've got the race leader just behind me here, and I'm running on my medium tyres, which, as you can see on the bottom left, have taken a bit of wear and are starting to lose quite a lot of grip now. So this is the lap where I plan to pit and swap from my medium tyres to my hard tyres. So the one plan I did have, and I learnt this from the last race, is when I switch to hard tyres, I normally have the traction control off all the races, but I'm going to turn on the traction control just ever so slightly when I put on the hard tyres, just because they've got a lot less grip. And as I was just saying, like, you want to stay on the track, and I've done a lot of clean laps with the hard tyres, but I didn't want to be assured that I'd be able to run 7 laps completely cleanly. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to put the TCS on and make sure that I see those laps through. As I make a little mistake there and have to concede a place, I could have went a bit more defensively against him, but quite honestly, my race is not with him in the Jag. He's I think it was the guy who qualified first, and he was he's a pit stop in front of me, so there's no point in me trying to hold that place and lose time as I come in now to the pit stop. So here we want to switch to the hard tyres, and we want to put a bit of fuel in because we've only got 11 laps of fuel with about 13 laps to go. So I've went up to about 14 laps worth of fuel, just to give myself a little bit extra in case I push too hard, as we switch to the hard tyres and rejoin the race. And it looks like we've rejoined in 5th place. So looks like the pit strategy worked. I think I was in 6th. As everyone else seemed to pit in, and I had a few extra laps on the medium tyres. I don't know if people started on softs or what they started on, but it meant that I had the opportunity to sort of build up a bit, and it looks like it's worked out for me because I've come out now a position better off. So happy with that in 5th position, as I maybe got an accelerator a little early there, forced a little oversteer, but I corrected it with a little bit of counter steering. And you come through this bit here. This bit's so important to get right. If you get the speed right here and hit this apex here, as long as you hit this apex here, you can go flat out for the rest of this section, which it looks like I'm doing. So we're still getting chased down now by the Honda, the German in the Honda. Actually, we've got 2 Germans chasing in behind. Probably not a great place for me to be in with my hard tyres, having to race on the defensive, so probably not going to take too many risks. If they attack really hard, then I might even just concede the position and wait until I get on the soft tyres at the end as I hit the wall there. Again, the lack of grip means you're more likely to spin out, lose control of the car on these tyres. As we come around now to the final turn and put some energy on that. It looks like the German in behind us has got his in a slipstream, so it looks like he's very likely to take us on this turn. I'm not going to try and fight it too much. I'm just going to stay on my line He looks like he's gone on the inside, so I'm going to take the outside line. And it looks like we're kind of neck and neck, but I think he's going to get this turn just in front of me, as he's got just in front of me. And yeah, I was a little bit conservative. I think I just conceded that place for him, as we now are sandwiched in between two Germans. And I do really quite like that turn. That's a really nice turn. He, like I said, he just come off the throttle ever so slightly. As soon as you sort of just approach the apex, you know, I put down that throttle, and it's just a really nice turn to take. We're not losing, you know, considering we're on hard tyres here, and I'm not sure what these other guys on. They may possibly be on hards, but it feels like they've got a little bit of pace on me, a little bit more grip on me as I come through here. But we seem to be holding it together on the hard tyres, as the BMW behind is still giving quite tight chase, and I just, again, might have to concede this position here and wait until I'm on the softs in order to take these two positions back and see if I can finish the race out in 5th. As we hit that chicane nicely, maybe a little bit of contact on the barrier, but not enough to really bring us down, as I pull a little bit of a gap between us and the German behind, and keep up nicely with the Honda in front of us, and possibly in slipstream range there, just to keep a bit of pace up as we come into lap 13 now. Ran a 142.8, so you can see there on the hard tyres we are running a little bit under our race pace, which was before on the mediums at 141. So we are a little bit beyond this pace, and we'll probably get these tyres changed before they have a chance to lose grip. So we'll probably maintain this kind of pace up until lap 17. Pardon me. So it'll be interesting to see whether we retain the position we've got here in 5th, or whether we drop down a bit further as we come round now to this nice lovely bit where you got on. This is the main part in your lap where you're going to lose time, as I run a little wide there, so I'm probably going to have to come off the accelerator, which I haven't, and I've hit that ride, and oh dear, we have spun out there. Unfortunately, that third apex I hit too aggressively. It bumped the car up. I lost all my grip and drifted wide, straight onto the gravel, spun out, and now looks like we've dropped right down to 10th position, which is a bit of a kick in the teeth, considering sort of how well the race was going from the point of view of starting in 13th and working all the way up that pack, sort of fighting around the 5th, you know, 4th and 5th place. Didn't really have any hopes of sort of, you know, approaching the top 3, but it was nice to be involved. As now we try and just see what we can do to salvage this. Don't know if that was caused by the hard tyres and me sort of trying to adjust to the new line I kind of have to take slightly on these tyres, or whether or not it's just a case I just took a really bad line, and like I said, I hit that curbstone completely wrong, which made the one side of the car just jump up. As we come through this lap now, quite a way behind, as you can see, those two that we're chasing. As we skip forward now, we're now on soft tyres, actually on lap 22, so just the second to last lap. Not much has changed since then. We did a tyre change at lap 7. We run a little wide there, but managed to hold that one altogether. But you can see in the lap times, as soon as we changed to the soft tyres, started running our fastest lap of the entire lap round, actually, even including the qualifier, a 140 flat almost. But now, as we come round to what is our 5th lap on these tyres, the tyre wear is starting to show a little bit, and I'm starting to feel the tyre wear as we come through now into the final corner, so we can come through and complete our last lap of this race. It's weird, it's because although I've climbed 3 positions, I can't help but feel disappointed, you know, especially in a 23 lap race, to spin out in that one moment of I don't know if it was poor judgment or poor technique or lack of experience, maybe a combination of all 3. Probably just pushed too hard because I was sandwiched in between those two other cars, and maybe just lost my concentration slightly. But you know, this is a 45 minute long race. It's not a short race. I suppose it's just a lesson to be learnt for when we go into our next long form race, as we're now in our final lap. Massive gap between us and the person in 11th, and quite a large gap between us and the Italian in 9th. So not much hope of achieving much here outside of 10th position, as again we run a little wide there with the grip we've lost out of these soft tyres. So now we just need to get over the line, as first place has come through to finish, and it was the crazy racer who we conceded a position to earlier, knowing full well that he was a pace setter of the race. And we've got a yellow flag here, so it looks like there's been an accident up front. 2 cars have been involved, looking at the mini-map, and we've managed to gain a position, move up to 9th, as we bear down on 8th actually. So a little bit happening at the end of this race. I don't know if we've got enough to catch 8th here, maybe a little bit too much for us to really bear down on them, but it's a shame we don't have another lap, because we possibly might have had an opportunity to gain another position. But that's where we're going to end the race. We're going to end the race in 9th place, so we've got to see that as a positive, to start in 13th and finish in 9th. That's still a climbing 4 places, but can't still help but feel the slight edge of disappointment that we didn't sort of top it out somewhere around 6th, where I felt like that's the pace where we were at. The qualified in probably, which is a little bit underperformed and didn't necessarily represent the pace that I'm actually at. But it is what it is. We got 24 points for our first round, which we're still sort of quite low on points because we're still in the C-class races. Would have had a bit of a dip on the DR today, especially with the first performance as well, finishing in 18th place. This might have increased it slightly, finishing in 9th, but let's have a look at the lap chart, which is going to be a little bit more longer form than what we've looked at before, but you can see that's where we ended. So let's get right to the start of this, and hopefully we can see there. So you can see the growth up there, going right up to 6th place in lap 5, even moving up to 4th into lap 6, and a little bit of time in 3rd, just due to all the pit stops. You can see the pits there. We come out and ended in 5th and 6th, and there's where our spin out is. We spent a lot of time in 10th. A lot of time in 10th. You can see why I didn't show you that part of the race, and then a little gain at the end where we pushed up to 9th on the final section. So stats wise, 3rd in my local area in Derbyshire. We're 450th in Aston Martin, which is kind of about the middle of the pack, and we're 3,600 in Europe. So not necessarily a great start. In terms of our overall stats, we're still the top 21% with a performance rating of 7,000. Sportsmanship rating still at max, so that's great. No big kind of drops or anything there, but in terms of our overall profile history, you can see there the driver points has dropped for today. So we were on 7,900 last time we raced, and now we're on 7,000, so we lost about 1,000, but we haven't lost a mana points. I really want the drivers up into the B class driver rating, which is at 10,000 points. Once we get there, then we'll be racing faster people into these in these FIA races, which will yield a lot more points, which is ultimately what we're after. So we need to get ourselves into B class. We might try some daily races before the next Nations race. We might not. But that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that other stuff that people normally do when they come to these YouTubey things. And I will be back again with the next video on the Nations race from Wednesday, so you'll probably see that come up on Thursday or so. And I might do a stream of either some daily races or practice session. I'm not sure. But if you keep an eye on the channel, I'll talk to you guys soon. Alright, cheers.